Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is a movie I saw in theaters, and after getting back from it, I'm just fucking done with the MCU. I've held hope for the MCU for so long, too long, to the point where I'm just not very confident they can make a single good movie. I just give up trying to remain optimistic for these movies now, to the point where I don't want to support these people anymore. But I guess I should elaborate on why I didn't like the new Doctor Strange movie. First, before getting into everything else, let's talk about Wanda's character first. Her motivations and character development have been so inconsistent throughout the course of the MCU. I feel like her character really started to fall off once Endgame finished, because was I not the only one who thought Wanda had accepted the death of Vision here? But then she goes and tortures people by creating false realities where Vision is alive. Again, by the end of WandaVision, it looks like she accepts the consequences of her actions, and has developed into a better person. Or was I, again, the only person who thought that she had learned a valuable lesson by the end of the show? We then get to Multiverse of Madness, where we find Wanda again, not exactly able to get over the grief of her children. Her not alive and not real children. I thought we already went over this in WandaVision. Also, I still don't understand how Wanda can't just make a smaller version of the Hex that doesn't affect anyone, and where her children are still alive. It's shown in the TV show that she can expand and shrink the border, so what the fuck is stopping you? Anyway, now that the Scarlet Witch is now reading the Darkhold, she is now a lot more corrupted. Wanda's motivations made absolutely no sense in this movie. She literally went from, I've made mistakes, as humans do, to, I'm going to fucking kill everyone, Spider-Man. I also love how halfway into the film where Wanda has enslaved the village, some rando comes up and destroys the book Wanda was working on to get her kids back from another reality. When I first saw this, I thought she was going to have to take a lot more time to find another way to get her kids back. But no, she literally does the same thing, and she just makes another book to find those exact same kids. So I don't know what the fuck was the point of his sacrifice there, but whatever. It also felt like they really had to nerf Wanda's character at points, just so the protagonist could escape her. I also thought that Wanda changing her mind at the end was dumb. She was literally trying to attempt to murder the children's mother like 3 times throughout the film. But all of a sudden, when she sees the children crying, she stops? Why? And don't you dare tell me it was because she realized she is the bad guy. She had done much worse throughout the film, like killing multiple people, probably destroying multiverses in the process, trying to kill a child's mother, and trying to kill an innocent teen girl for her own gain. Like WandaVision, this makes her seem like a villain rather than a redeemed hero. Just because she sacrificed herself does not mean she's a good person. And her sacrifice feels so nothing. It feels like she's just going to come back in the next movie or whatever. Her sacrifice does not feel permanent. It feels temporary for this movie. And if this really is the end for a character, then what a shitty way to kill off your character. But that was just so fucking dumb. Her powers are also extremely inconsistent throughout the film. First, she gets attacked, and then is able to easily block it. But when she has rubble full on her, it takes at least a few minutes for her to get out of it. So which the fuck is it? Can she withstand fatal magic blows? Or will she get hurt by some falling rubble that she could see coming a mile away? This movie is also extremely contrived, to the point where it couldn't go 5 or 10 minutes without having some sort of contrived moment. For example, near the end, Strange is getting consumed by spirits for using the Darkhold, but then Christine reminds him that these spirits can be controlled, despite her not even knowing this in the first place, and it not being established in the script that she would even know this. And if someone as less knowledgeable as Christine knows this, then why doesn't Strange? Or how it's shown that Wong gets comedically knocked off the mountain. Now remember, this is a fatal fall, but not only does he survive, he conveniently lands on a tiny platform on the mountain that he landed on. Not only that, but his rope is also with him, even though he had used it before in one scene. And if he had been knocked out, then how did he keep the rope around him? It would have lost grip and fell off the mountain, especially since it was established that he could lose the rope at any point in the film. Reminder that these are 2 out of probably 50 contrivances that I found in the movie. Strange's character does not really get developed at all in this movie, despite this being his movie. In fact, the main character who gets developed the most was Wanda. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was Wanda's movie. Shit, I'm sorry guys. It actually says right here, Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. For some reason I thought this was a Doctor Strange movie. Doctor Strange's whole thing this movie was being depressed about not being able to be with Christine, but it was nowhere near developed enough where the conclusion to his arc felt satisfying. Doctor Strange also uses the Darkhold once in this movie to defeat the villain, and evil Doctor Strange has a third eye, but at the end of the movie, normal Doctor Strange also gets a third eye. Okay? This ending kind of came out of nowhere. It was very predictable to see where it was going, but it was just such a lazy, shitty ending that settled more for shock value, like, oh, he actually got it, and just launched all logic out in the air at the end of the movie. Not like it hadn't been doing that the whole movie anyway, but I digress. I thought you had to use the Darkhold for it to corrupt you over time. Also, isn't the Darkhold destroyed? I thought to be affected by the Darkhold, you would have to have it on you. Also, how come only Doctor Strange gets the third eye? Why doesn't Wanda have it too? Maybe she does have it, but it's not ever established that she has it as well. But nothing is ever really explained in this movie. It's just a bunch of incoherent dribble explained from the mouths of idiots. Let's talk about America's character. Her character does not need to exist. She is literally just a plot device for the movie to move forward. Nothing about her character is developed enough in order for the audience to care about her. The most we know about her is that her parents died because America was accidentally scared by a bee. I couldn't make this more comedic if I fucking tried. They tried so hard to make it an emotional moment, but every time I watched that scene, I just couldn't help but laugh because she got scared by a fucking bee. And that's why her parents died. Fucking comedic gold. That's it. The parents were never seen again, nor really mentioned too much from that point on. We also follow the overdone generic arc of, I don't know how these powers work, help. That plot usually works better if you can see the character slowly getting used to their powers as the movie goes along. But her character is literally static until the final 5 minutes, where all of a sudden she now knows how to use her powers. And that's by believing in herself. Wow, how awe-inspiring, Marvel. Let's give these guys a round of applause. It's also stupid how her powers took her wherever the plot needed to go. Like, out of the infinite universes, your powers took you to the one that conveniently had the thing that they needed in order to defeat Wanda. That is until Wanda destroys it, so that was a huge waste of fucking time. Also, how could the book be destroyed that easily? You'd at least make a spell that's unbreakable or something like that. Nothing ever feels really natural in this movie. Every time something happens, it usually feels like the writers are forcing it to unnaturally move it along, instead of having a gradual build-up of some kind to the end. But the writers definitely had America in mind as a plot device, and not to develop her as a character. I also thought the CGI was extremely atrocious in this movie. Same thing with the editing. I didn't realize I was watching Power Rangers on Netflix, not some fucking high-budget movie. Everything just looks so fake. It had such a bad taste in my mouth when watching, especially with the editing. There'll be some scenes that will make you think, the fuck is this editing choice? Especially with the amount of how many fades there were in this movie. Sometimes there would be 2 scenes playing at once, and both would weirdly fade into each other. It was extremely distracting. There was also a scene where Strange got drugged. You guys had no idea how long that took me to read out that sentence without fucking up. And the visuals for that scene were really disorienting, not even in a good way. It was just so horrible to watch. The cinematography was great though, but the editing and special effects did not do the movie or the cinematography any justice. And what the fuck is up with these lazy as fuck jump scares? Every few seconds there'd be some high-pitched musical note that would play out of nowhere, and it tries so hard to jump scare you, but it never succeeds. It's just so fucking corny. It's so obvious this was the MCU trying to make this shit, since this definitely cries out baby's first horror type shit movie to me. Sometimes the jump scares were so bad to the point where I randomly started laughing whenever they tried to scare me. The cameo appearances do not need to be there. They do not service the plot in any way, shape, or form, just like No Way Home. At least No Way Home did it better because you knew who these Spider-Men were from previous movies. Oh, do not think for a second that I like No Way Home, nor should you think I prefer it to this movie. In this movie, half the characters were so obscure that I would be shocked if 80% of the general audience could even name half the council without having to look up their names. They get introduced for 5 minutes, and then they die. Great, that wasn't a waste of time at all. The fight scenes were poorly choreographed to showcase the new characters best. We watch them fight one at a time against each villain so that they can also die one at a time while their teammates just watch it happen, really. As a kind of small plus, I guess, this film was not really for children, as it finally brought some long-awaited gore to Marvel. But having gore in your films does not spell out maturity. In fact, now that the MCU has been so fucking kiddie, the gore feels kind of out of place at points, because it was never really gradually built up in any of the previous films, so the gore just felt very out of place. The fight scene with musical notes felt forced and unconvincing, like it was so fucking corny as well, Jesus Christ. The duel with Mordo was unnecessary for those of us who saw the first Doctor Strange film, and a lot of the characters seemed to be very bad at thinking on their feet. Several times magic users apparently forgot they could use magic, like the Darkhold Strange as he's thrown out of a high-up window and impaled on a fence. Quite a strange one for such a feared and formidable opponent. Strange also goes through this weird separate arc to find out whether or not he's happy. Not to be happy, just to know whether he's happy or not. The music in this movie was also really fucking weirdly used. The music just felt like it did not belong in this film. For such a semi-serious film, it has this rock soundtrack that makes you feel like you're watching Hellboy, or something corny like that. Also, why is Wanda obsessed with this one universe that her kids are in? Why not go to a different universe, where your kids don't see you as a fucking witch? Is it really that hard? In conclusion, WandaVision 2.0 was a weird mess of a film that I hated, and I'm probably never gonna watch this movie again. I've lost all hope in Marvel for expecting at least something of decent quality, but I expected too much from them, as it seems. I just wish the MCU would just die out already, but it doesn't seem like we'll be getting that anytime soon. Of course, there will be people who love this film, and more power to them. The last time I saw a Marvel movie I liked was like 5 years ago, back in 2017. The time has now come to admit there are better things than just Marvel movies. There are multiple shows and movies that are leagues better than any MCU movie out there. Overall, Doctor Strange 2 is a disappointing sequel that will probably please the average MCU fan, but not me personally, since I had way too many fucking problems with this film. I'm going to give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a 2 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed that video. Quick shout out to Rio, and by quick shout I mean this goes on for 30 seconds since I lost a bet to him. I apologize to any old or new viewers if this is getting old quickly. I'll try not to make any bets like that in the future. His Letterboxd and Twitter will be down below. Make sure to check him out. He's a very cool guy. If you like animation or you like movies in general, then definitely go check him out. He's a really cool guy. You can interact with him at any time. For some backstory, we did a bet, and I ended up losing the bet, and the bet was I had to do this for a month to shout him out. Every time I make a video, I would have to shout him out for the next month.